welcome to Screams and Streams, the podcast that looks at the best and worst horror movies as rated on Rotten Tomatoes from 1970 onwards. I'm your host, Chad Campbell, and with me is my co-host,
Mike Karen.
Before we get to today's film, we'd like to invite you to check us out on Instagram. Our handle is @ScreamStreamPod. Also, be sure to check out our website at www.screamsandstreams.com, where we have information about our episodes, links to our research, and our watchability scale, where we rank all of the films we are looking at. Just a warning, in the podcast, we do jump around in the plot when we are discussing the details. We may end up spoiling the film if you haven't had the chance to see it yet. If you are someone who doesn't like spoilers, we recommend that you stop listening now, check out the film, and then rejoin us for our discussion. Thank you, and with no further ado, our plot summary of The Devil's Reign.
Yes, today we are looking at Robert Fuest's 1975 The Devil's Reign. It scored 17% on Rotten Tomatoes, but 4.5 stars on Amazon.ca.
And 5.1 on the IMDB website, but 4.5 on Amazon.ca.
All right. According to IMDb, the plot summary is a Satanist cult leader is burnt alive by the local church. He vows to come back to hunt down and enslave every descendant of his congregation by the power of the Book of Blood contracts, in which they sold their souls to the devil.
All right.
Makes more sense than the movie did.
So I'm going to go into first impressions here, and I'll just say this movie was actually not fun to watch. Incohesive storytelling, bad line delivery, poor special effects, unimaginative camera work, and piss poor cinematography all made up this film. This movie tries to take itself too seriously, but fails in every single attempt. It is so bad that I wouldn't watch it with a friend to make fun of it. I wouldn't waste my time on this film at all. I actually felt like I was hit in the face with a club. It was horrible. The ending is bad. Even though it's foreshadowed, it was, everything. I hated it. It was not fun. Michael?
I don't know how to come back from that. No. I did not like it at all either. When I was watching the opening credits, I didn't do any research or looking into the film beforehand. I just like, all right, let's hit play. And I was looking at the credits. I'm like, oh my God, this cast. And so I was even like, for a test of time, I'm like, the cast is a test of time. I was just like more and more excited as I saw these names. I'm like, this is going to be a great movie. And almost immediately that was shattered and broken. And
William Shatner, Ernest Borgnine. We have Tom Skerritt. And if you don't know who he is, he's been in Alien and the Top Gun movies.
John Travolta.
He plays a bit part, but he's still, that's his first film, I guess, which we were going to use as our bonus research thing, but it's out now. Anyways, big cast, and I expected better. That's for sure.
Yeah, I don't know where to go. I was excited for it. And then Shatner's just acting like his Captain Kirk delivery, stilted delivery. I'm like, oh, that just took me out of it. And then the plot was just confusing. The special effects were like, it looked good once, but I didn't need to see it as often as we did with the melting people.
Oh man. 15 minutes in, I was still confused as to who the characters were, why we were interested in this. He goes to this mining town, which they say, oh, that town's forbidden or is abandoned, and it's just horrible.
It felt like it was the longest movie ever. I did pause and walk away. It was just hard to watch. I wasn't enjoying it.
It's only an hour and a half, right? Like it's just 90. Yeah. It's a short film actually.
And I hit pause and there was still 30 minutes left. And I was just like, how is there still 30 minutes?
I did the same. I stopped it 3 times to see how much was left I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we're still moving on this horrible film.
But when we talk about some stuff later, well, we know like why it felt like there was so much left, because the end scene goes on a long time. And on. That is my first impression. It was terrible.
Did you have a review from the IMDB website or anything? I know it's on Roger Ebert's most hated list.
He still gave it 1.5 stars though.
Yeah.
Even though it's one of his most hated. He's rated other things that we've enjoyed lower than that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10?
Yeah.
Read that one. Let's hear that one.
All right. They say, what works? What a cast. The Devil's Reign is the airport, or at least the Love Boat of horror movies. Borgnine the goat, This is where a lot of people seem to have a problem with The Devil's Reign. They seem to find the sight of Borgnine with goat horns too funny to take seriously. I look at it just the opposite. I've always found it a disturbing, well-done visage. They like the melting bodies. But then they say, I realize The Devil's Reign isn't that good of a movie, but it's just so much cheesy fun that I can't help but rate it as high as I do. It's a movie that could have only been made in the 70s. So there are bad movies that I enjoy watching and watching over and over again.
Agreed.
This does not have the redeemable quality. There's not even like I want to show my friends this movie to it.
No, as I said, I wouldn't watch and just laugh with a buddy. Like I said in my first impressions, I thought it was just, it was trying to be a serious, scary movie, and it just wasn't done well. And I've seen movies that weren't done well and still enjoyed them as kind of a fun kind of horror romp. But this just was not that. It was bad. The acting, the costumes. We'll get into that later. Yeah. But as first impressions, no, not good.
I do like the title of this one review. Satan versus Shatner equals awesome. 7 out of 10 stars.
Oh, wow. Easily pleased. So now we're going to move on to Tropes Hall of Shame. I have a few and Mike has a few, but we're going to start with Mike.
So the first one is just a line at the beginning where my dream was a warning.
One of mine was this could have been a mistake, or he comes to give her the coffee at the beginning and he says, "Oh, I made a fresh pot of coffee." And she turns around and spills nothing.
Yes, an empty cup.
An empty cup,
pot.
and it kind of rattles. And she goes, "Oh, I'm sorry." And the servant guy, John, I think his name was in the film, he says, "Oh, it's okay. I'll just make you a fresh cup." And she didn't want coffee to begin with.
Yep.
And she spilled it. And then, anyway. And he had a full pot. He brought a full pot out.
Yes.
And then did not fill that cup. He just took it back into the kitchen. So that took me out of it. Maybe a mistake, but for me, that's one of my tropes.
That one bothered me too. I actually rewound it just to go back to see, like, did coffee actually spill?
As did I, yeah.
It always bothers me in shows where they have the coffee cup and you can tell it's empty by the way they carry it and the way it moves. Or
the milk container that they set on the counter and it wobbles because there's nothing in it. Yeah.
So I was just like, how I guess they didn't want to have to clean up the set, but they could have had the bobble off screen or not even included it because it did nothing for the movie. It just...
No. She just stumbled. She could have just stumbled and sat down, or there were other ways around it.
Another trope for me at the beginning of the film as well was every time they needed something, it seemed to be like under a loose floorboard in the house. They just lift a carpet, move the rock, there's the book. And then later it's like lift the carpet, move the carpet, lift the rock, and they get something else out. And it's just like, how many floorboards are things hidden underneath?
Yeah.
Like twice in the first 15 minutes is excessive. And then the end of the movie, it's hidden under the floor in the altar. I'm just like, they had one idea and they just ran with it.
In the opening of this movie, there's this heavy rainstorm and the mom is looking out the window and they're all very disturbed by this rainstorm. And this is where I talk about incohesive storytelling. The first whole 10, 15 minutes of the film, I'm confused as to why they're looking for this book, who Corbus is, who is the main villain of the movie, who this family is, first of all, and why are they being tormented by Corbus. So this all eventually kind of falls into place, but not done well enough to keep you interested. Yeah, so it's just confusing. So when Mike says, "Oh, there's this book," they're looking for this book that is supposed to save them from Corbus or from Satan.
It's a book with all the signatures from a puritanical town back in the 1700s, I think.
Yeah.
Where people had signed in blood their souls to Satan. And so Corbus needs this back. But none of that is explained. They take out the book, they look at the book, but they don't explain what it's for, why it's there.
Yeah. They make a lot of references to the book.
Yes. Where's the book? Where's the book?
Don't give him the book. But you're just confused the whole time. So my next one for tropes is the whole God versus Satan. Just the whole premise of this film has been done to death. So as soon as I figured out what was happening, I was, oh man, this is another cult story thing. And if I would have done some research beforehand, but like Mike, I just said, "Oh, The Devil's Reign, let's go." I like to come into a movie not knowing anything about it so I get a genuine first impression. But it was confusing.
Very.
Definitely.
But even reading the plot summary still doesn't make much sense. And
No,
like
after you read it, you're just,
You almost have to read the plot, see the film, read the plot again, and it'll fall into place. For me, similar along the lines with the God versus Devil, but it's the bargaining your soul with the devil.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Right. It's been done over and over again. We get it.
The other one I had was the whole look of the abandoned town, the tumbleweeds that he goes to, this old Western town, and probably Shatner's hat, which I thought looked ridiculous.
That he could not wear straight.
No.
Like every time he put it on, it was crooked. I'm like, fix the bloody hat.
And he took it off so many times and put it back on and took it off and put it back on. I was just take it off, man. You don't need it.
And he would put it on, then get into the car to drive. But then it's like every other movie, they usually take the hat off before they get in the car.
Yes, yeah.
No, he's got to put it on before he gets in. Another trope for me was the angry mob with torches.
Yeah.
So we get the flashback scene to the puritanical times where the Puritans are angry at Corbus and his ilk for making a pact with the devil. Mm-hmm. And they show up at his door with torches and just,
yeah. Loud noises. Yeah. That's definitely been done to death.
Later on in the film where they're driving away from the abandoned town to get away from the Satanists. And we think, oh, the woman is free and clear. She's going to get away.
Oh, yeah.
And then just slowly up from the back seat comes one of the cult members to attack her.
The mother, wasn't it?
It was the mother. Yeah. But just again, like,
she's behind you. Yeah.
The instant the camera was shooting through the front window, I'm like, oh, someone's going to come up from the back seat.
Yeah.
It's too obvious.
The other thing, and I didn't write this down, but this is one that I just thought of, was the dolly shot with Shatner running out of the church coming through was uninspired. That's just been done to death, and it wasn't done very well in this film. It just looked kind of silly. He's running down this straight line with all these, his fighting while he's pushing these guys aside looked very Captain Kirkish.
Yes.
He's pushing them and falling and pushing them and falling, and they're all just kind of coming at the side one at a time.
Yeah, it was bad Star Trek stage fighting.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to go into one-liners. I'm going to start with my one-liners. And actually, I wouldn't say they stood out for their impact or their originality. I just think they were funny, the way they were said, and what kind of nonsense was coming afterwards. So there's a huge storm, and Tom Preston has come from New York, I think it is.
I think so, yes.
To investigate where his family has gone, because he's heard there's a doings a transpiring. He heard this stuff is happening. So he goes, and after this storm, he's talking to the sheriff, and the sheriff says, I can't spare anybody. I've got to clean up this storm. And so Tom says, well, I'll just go myself. And the sheriff says, well, I can't stop you. And he just lets him go. He actually directs him to the town. You better take this back road into the town. I'm like, what?
I don't want you to, but I can't stop you, so I may as well help you do it.
I had another one where Tom Preston and his wife approach the church, and the line delivery was just so bad I could not resist putting it in. She says, I've seen a church like this in New England. It doesn't belong here. I was, what? So that was another one of my classic one-liners from this film.
I liked that line too. I didn't write it down, but I liked it because it's just like, that church looks absolutely fine for where it is, and it's just sitting there. It looked like any other church in a small
town church. It didn't look like a specific church only for New England. It just looked like a boarded up church.
My first line comes, I think, shortly after that from Tom Skerritt. And again, my lines were not chosen because like, wow, that was a great line. Mine were, they jarred me out of the enjoyment of the film. As he's going into the church, he says, here, I'm gonna go in. Like, you could just hear him giving up on the film as he went through that line. His delivery just fell off a cliff halfway through. Like, I think he realized, oh, what did I get myself into?
And have a long talk with my agent after this.
Yeah, so that made me laugh, and I was just like, oh, poor Tom Skerritt.
Yeah.
And my other one was just, I know they're trying, like, they had Anton Sander LaVey, the writer of the satanic Bible there for like accuracy and technical advising
Yeah.
and that. But there's a scene during one of the rituals towards the end where it's like, we will bathe you in the holy waters of forgetfulness.
There's reference to these holy waters a few times. Like, oh, the holy water. It's just ridiculous.
Very like elementary kids school or elementary kids story where it's like, I know what we'll call it.
The holy waters of forgetfulness. I had a couple more. There was one where I think it's around the middle or near the end of the film where they're going into the whole pilgrim scene where they're kind of showing the origin story of Corbus and his crew. He figures out that his wife was the one that betrayed him and told the village.
Right.
And he goes, and I swear he says this. He goes, "Thou art the one. Slap." And he slaps her. I swear he said that. I rewound it 3 times just to hear, and it so sounds like slap. I don't know what else he would say there, but "thou art the one. Slap."
Like, because slut wouldn't make sense.
No.
So he's just, maybe he read his stage direction.
Maybe he did, but he says it and he yells it, and I'm sure he says slap. If you're listening to this and you do watch this film, which I don't recommend you do, but you could check out that scene and correct me if I'm wrong, but I swear he says slap in that.
I don't know if I want to go back to see if you're right or wrong there. I'll just accept that you're right because I don't want to watch any of this again.
No, I know. And then I had one more where the doctor shows up at the town or at the house and he says, "That devil's rain, that's new to me. I haven't heard of that."
Because it's not a thing.
I was just confused by the line. I was confused at the whole inclusion of this doctor that was in New York that all of a sudden shows up to the house to help them.
But does nothing to help.
Yeah,
I didn't get why he was there either.
That whole character could have been omitted from the movie. He does really nothing to progress the story, but a lot happens in this film that doesn't progress the story. So I didn't understand why he was there. And he seems to be like this occult master, or like he knows everything about it, yet we have no background of this character.
We have no reason to understand why he knows all this.
Yes. So anyways, that was my last quote.
Well, it's just funny because like his line of "the devil's rain," like, I don't know what it is. I've never heard of it. It's like neither have we as the audience. We just know it's the title of the movie, but they make reference to the devil's rain so many times. And it's not till I think the last 20 minutes.
Yeah. Near the climax of the film where they're telling us what it actually is.
And it's still, the name of it doesn't make sense.
And shouldn't it be listed in the book? Like if the doctor reads the book and he knows what the book is about, why wouldn't they use that for him to explain to
everyone else what's going on?
Preston, what the devil's reign in is, why Corbus is doing this. Because we have no idea what Corbus is even doing or why this book is important until the end of the film.
Right. Yeah. I don't know.
So anyways, yeah.
There's a scene where they open the book and there's a letter from the wife, right?
Right. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
She writes this letter like, "It must stay out of Corbus's hands to save my husband from the devil's reign."
Right.
And I'll admit I wasn't paying the closest of attention for the next few minutes after that. And I was like, did they explain devil's reign there? Did I miss something?
Yeah, dude, I started doing laundry at one point. I need to keep myself busy or I will walk away from this film. So I may have missed that entirely.
I went back. They didn't.
They didn't explain it. Okay.
No, they just read the letter. It makes a reference. We still don't know what it is.
Brutal.
Yep.
We're going to go to what doesn't hold up. So I'm starting with this. First on my list is the makeup. Right out of the gate, when they see their father, he turns up on their doorstep and his eyes are out. You can see his eyes through the mesh that are supposed to look like his eyes have been plucked out. And it's laughably bad. So the makeup in this film, and everybody after that, anybody who's in the cult does not have eyes. They've all been plucked out or however that happened.
I never got what that was either.
Yeah. So first of all, that's confusing. And then the makeup's not done very well. It looks like it's attached. I used to teach a film class and I had an attachment, a prosthetic that went around your eyes. It was the same one that these guys used. For sure it was. And the one in my classroom looked better than this. It's ridiculous.
There was that, and like the prosthetic, and it just changed their face so much that it's like they're now distorted and twisted, and it just looked weird, looked bad.
Very, very accented wrinkles around the eyes that just look fake.
Right.
And then this mesh around. Yeah, it just looked very poorly done.
That leads into my didn't hold up, which is the melting faces. Right off the bat, when the dad shows up and it's raining, he's starting to melt. It's just, you can tell it's wax and silicone, and just looks terrible right away. I was just like, this is comical. It reminded me of like Garbage Pail Kids.
Yeah.
And it's, again, another thing that just took me right out of the film.
I agree. Yeah. That first melting face, when it started to happen, I was, oh, come on. What is this? And then it bubbles, like it melts all the way down, and then it bubbles and just, it's ridiculous. My next one was the costumes. I thought the Satan costume, he changes his costume 3 times during the film. The first one, when he goes into the church where William Shatner's character goes into the church with him, it looks like jammies. It looks like red pajamas.
Yes.
And it's not scary in the least. The second one is when we'll talk about later, he turns into this goat. He's got these shiny things on his robe. I thought that looked laughable. His pilgrim costume looks like something from The Simpsons.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And then his last costume again looked like something you would wear to bed. Just everything about his costume looked laughably bad. Everybody else was wearing kind of Western wear, except the cult members all just had black robes, which I thought was kind of uninspired.
Right.
So costumes didn't do it for me.
Watching this, like I remember back in high school when like the Satanic Bible was like, ooh, a big thing. And so I saw this documentary and it was about Anton LaVey, and it showed like one of his black masses. And it looked like it was from this film. Like it's just like comical, poorly done. And like just how fake this church was that he set up.
Yeah.
And so then watching this movie, I just feel like LaVey was there like, this is amazing. This is what I will create on earth.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
For me, another one that didn't stand the test of time was just Shatner's acting, because now it's such a joke to make fun of his, what are we doing?
Yeah.
It's the instant he started acting like that at the beginning of the film, I was just like, oh no, it's an entire movie of Shatner.
There was the one line where he talks about the wind taking out the power lines. It's the wind. It took down the power lines. Yeah. It's just, oh my Lord, like 3-second pauses. Come on.
Yeah. And so it just doesn't hold up. It didn't last. It's a joke now. And so when you watch a movie from back in the time where people thought like, oh, he's a great actor, or if anyone ever did think that, just took me right out of the movie again.
Yeah. I had another one which kind of piggybacks off of that, which is the acting in general. I thought a lot of the lines were delivered with no enthusiasm whatsoever. I thought Joan Prather, she plays Julie Preston, which is Tom Skerritt's wife, Tom Preston's wife in this one. I made a note saying her acting is as bad as Sofia Coppola's in Godfather 3. I thought it was horrendous. Every line she delivered was deadpan and horrible. There's a scene where Tom Preston is fighting one of the cult guys, and she says, oh, I have some rope, tie him up. And he's in the middle of a fight. He's trying to pin this guy down who obviously has super strength because he's from hell. And she's, oh, I have some rope, tie him up. It's just so poorly done. And there were a lot of lines delivered like that.
And we're even introduced to her where she's supposed to be in like almost a trance or communing with the supernatural. And she's talking very slow and vague. Yeah. But it just comes across as dead. And there's no supernatural or ethereal feeling to it. And it's like she just decided to just carry that through everything else.
Yeah. It's very deadpan and just not well done. And even, I'd arguably say that no line is delivered well. Ernest Borgnine as the devil, I don't think they made the right choice. He's not scary in the least. He looks silly.
Well, his eyes, right? Yeah. Just bugging out all the time.
And he's always got this, like, his resting face is a smile. He looks so approachable. It's unbelievable. And maybe that's what they wanted for Satan, that he could manipulate people easier that way. But he just looks like a friendly, hi, how you doing?
Yeah, just a great guy.
Let's go sell some vacuums.
I'm having a great time.
Anyways, I didn't find him menacing in the least. Even when Shatner's gambling for his soul, there was no tension, nothing.
No.
no chemistry between any of these characters whatsoever.
Nope.
Whew. Sorry, we're just like slamming this film, but really it is that bad.
It is terrible.
If you really want to sit and watch it, I don't recommend it, but wow.
Oh, on the Borgnine thing, it's interesting just because I did not enjoy his acting at all. I thought it was terrible. But all the reviews when I'm reading them talk about Borgnine was great, right? They talk about the flaws, but Borgnine really sold it, really made me enjoy this film. And it's like, I did not watch the same movie.
No, I did not see that whatsoever. It was not good. And maybe it's because we're watching it in 2023. I just think it's bad.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it was good back then either.
Okay. So now we're going to move on to most gratuitous scene. Mike's going to take the lead.
For me, the most gratuitous scene was the ending of the film where they've destroyed the Devil's Reign and the cult members are all coming out of the church after there's been an explosion and they're all melting. And then it goes on for 5 to 10 minutes.
I think it's 10. It is the final scene. It is forever.
Yeah, and it's just footage of this cult member melting, that cult member melting, and just we get it. They're melting, and it just kept going and going. And I'm like, are they going to do something different? Nope. It's the same shot. Well, not same shot, but the exact same effect over and over again
on all these different cult members. Yeah.
It's like we had to give each extra their moment,
their little scene. Yeah. I had the same thing. The final 10 minutes of this movie is just way overdone. And I mean, you see hands melting, faces melting, everybody's screaming. They're running around like crazy. The rain is falling. Everybody's melting in this shot, this shot, this shot, this shot. It's all the same.
So when I was looking up stuff for the film, there was a great quote from Ebert about the melting scene. He's like, there's a big explosion, the Devil's Reign starts to fall, and the undead all start to melt. 5 minutes later, we're wondering if they'll ever finish.
That's perfect. That is perfect. And Ernest Borgnine's goat character, his face starts to melt. Yeah, it's just way overdone. In fact, you could fast forward when it starts to just the end, and you wouldn't have missed a thing.
Not at all. Not at all.
Also, what is the deal when they get shot and their blood is like green and
brown?
Yeah.
But what I love is like one color comes out of one hole and one color comes out of the other.
And he's shooting them with a shotgun, and it only shoots 2 shots in their body, and they both leak this different color. I
don't know. I thought that exact same thing. I was like, why is it 2 different colors?
What is happening with this? Make it green or black blood would have been cool. I don't know. It wouldn't show up on the black robe, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. No idea why the blood was that color. Okay, we're going into stood the test of time. Mike has one.
The landscape. I thought the cinematography of New Mexico was gorgeous. But that was it, right? Like when Tom, or actually when Shatner's character is first coming to that town and he's driving and you get like the rolling hills in the background, the mountains. I'm like, this looks really lovely. That sky is beautifully shot. It reminded me of like old Westerns.
Yeah. And obviously that's what they were, kind of going for with that town and the tumbleweeds and everything like that. Yeah.
But that was it.
Yeah.
That's all I had was just the landscape.
I'll give you that. I like that one shot. But after that, I thought it went to pot as far as the...
Yeah, because they no longer show the landscape. They're now in the...
Okay, moving on to back it up moments. So back it up moments. I'm going to start. The only back it up moment I had is when Ernest Borgnine goes from human Satan to goat Satan.
Oh, it's great.
He bows down. He says this chanting and he bows down. All of a sudden there's this explosion. He pops up and his eyes are big and he's looking around and he's in this full goat makeup and he just says, "Who has summoned me from my pit?" And it is ridiculously funny. If you're just going to watch that scene alone, even look it up on YouTube. It is so hilarious.
That is worth looking at. Yeah.
So I did back that up. And actually I backed up the coffee scene. So I don't know if I want to put that in there, but we backed up the coffee scene just to see if she actually spilled coffee.
Yeah, I didn't back it up. I didn't back up the coffee scene because I was like, I want to see that again.
For any interest, I want to see if they messed up. Yeah.
But I backed up Borgnine as a goat. I was like, I laughed so hard and so loud. It's just like, I just picture him making this noise like,
it is hilarious. And
because they took it so seriously and they thought it looked great.
And they thought it was, oh man, he's really selling this. It is hilarious. Yeah. His eyes are just big and he's looking around.
He's got those white teeth, those white eyes. So bad, but so good. Just that one moment. So in a movie that's an hour and a half long, 5 seconds worth.
5 seconds worth of goodness. Okay, so now we're going to move into bonus features. So there's not a lot about this film. A lot of the things that I'm going to say are taken from trivia from the IMDB website. But Mike, you're going to start.
Oh, okay. So I didn't find a lot either. I was looking and just trying to see, there's got to be interviews. There's got to be some kind of document about how bad this was. And all I could really find was quotes from different reviewers that made me laugh or chuckle. And the one I really liked was from the New York Times, where they were just talking about how boring and ineffective it was. And just the lack of horror. They said the melting effect is as horrible as watching eggs fry.
Oh,
it's just like, yeah, there's no terror. There's no fear.
right.
It just becomes a joke.
Yeah, honestly, it really does. One of the little trivia facts I found was Ernest Borgnine revealed at a convention panel in 2010 that the movie was financed with mafia money and that he was never paid for his work on the film.
Too bad he went through all that and didn't get anything for it.
4 hours of goat makeup.
For nothing.
Not a cent.
The writer Michael Adams has a book called Showgirls, Teen Wolves, and Astro Zombies, just looking at cult classics. And he says that Devil's Reign is a true cult movie because it's about a cult. It has a cult following, and it's devised with input from a cult leader and saw a future superstar indoctrinated into a cult he helped popularize. Right, referencing Lanton LaVey's input and also John Travolta. This was his screen debut, and he later joined Scientology. So, just to piggyback
on that with John Travolta, years later in an interview with VH1, he was reminded of the film and he said, "Oh, that's a terrible movie." He quipped with a big laugh, and there are so many big stars in it.
That goes all the way back to my first impression of looking at that cast list going, this is going to be great.
Yeah.
And it's not.
And it is not great. Do you have any more?
I just have two from the website Den of Geek talking about the film. And so Robert Fuest, we've looked at his other film, And Soon the Darkness, and we really didn't enjoy that one. But as much as I judge him as a director, he complained about the script from day one. I don't know why he signed on to make the movie, but he did, and he was complaining. But the screenwriter's like, no, it all makes perfect sense. It all comes together.
That's interesting.
So even the director knew this wasn't good.
Yeah.
And then the other one, Robert Fuest talked about the producer, Sandy Howard. And he's like, Sandy Howard just wanted to make a movie about Satanists that ends with a whole lot of people melting. So,
well, mission accomplished there.
Mission accomplished. Yeah.
I had one that was originally Christopher Plummer was asked to play the William Shatner role. That would have been
just as bad.
I don't know. Pretty ridiculous. Georg from Sound of Music playing the lead role in this satanic film. There was one thing that I wanted to say. In this scene, William Shatner's character does get possessed by the cult, and they remove his eyes. And there's one scene, and I guess this can go into back it up moments. There's one scene, and the angle, the way it's shot, he looks like Michael Myers. And I was wondering if that was where they got the idea for that, but apparently not. As we did the research for this, they found out that no, the casting for that mask had actually been done previous to this film, and so it wasn't. But it does look a lot like Michael Myers in this film, so you would be forgiven to think that that's where they got the idea from, because it does look a lot like that.
Absolutely. And that's just another thing that takes you out of the film, right?
Yeah.
Because then you're just like, oh, it's like Halloween. And like, I'm no longer in the atmosphere of this movie.
Made $1.8 million at the box office.
I don't know what was going on in 1975 in the box office then.
I don't know what the budget was for that film.
Yeah, I couldn't find it either.
But 1.8 million is, I guess, a lot for the 70s by those standards, but yeah, seems pretty crazy. Okay, so now we're going to do watchability scale, which is where we rate the film out of 10 to see if it's worth watching. Mike, you want to go first?
A solid 1.
I agree. 1 and done.
Avoid at all costs.
Avoid at all costs. It's not worth it, except if you're lucky enough to find that 5 seconds with Ernest Borgnine turning into a goat. Then you're laughing. Otherwise, avoid it. It's not good.
No, not at all.
Thank you very much for listening to us. Be sure to check us out on Instagram. Stop by our website, www.screamsandstreams.com, to check out information about all our episodes and the films that we have covered so far. Until next time, this has been Chad Campbell and
Mike Karen.
Thank you for listening.